How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to look at some older games, maybe from like the early 2010s to like just below that, maybe to like 2006, and then maybe to like 2013, just around that time. So these are the kind of games that I want to be playing on my Steam Deck, you know, older games that I used to play on my Xbox 360, and just generally games that'll work better and give you a better battery life as well. So, and also games you can't play anywhere else except on the older console, and possibly on newer consoles, depending on if it has backwards compatibility, and on Steam, because Steam has such a huge library for all these kinds of games. Kind of makes it the Steam Deck perfect place to play them. So as you can see, I'm going to look at Prototype 1 and 2. 2 works really well. 1, I had some issues with shadows, but you can change the proton layer, and that should help you out a little bit. But we'll jump into Prototype 2. As you can see, just tried to do a little bit of the tutorial section before we hopped into actual gameplay here, but no issues loading this one up. I'm not sure if it has issues loading on Windows, but as far as Proton Experimental with the Steam Deck goes, as you can see, works really well. I'm getting a lock 60 here. I would say the first section was very heavy on the effects, so we saw like a rise in wattage up to around 20 watt when all the explosions were going off and you was running away from one of the creatures. But as you can see in this area, it's only pulling around 10.7 watts, so you're looking at around almost 4 hours battery life at full settings. As you can see, runs really well. I haven't played Prototype 2 in years, but I absolutely love the Prototype games. It's a shame they haven't like attempted to make a next-gen version of one of them. So gory, and the abilities you can get are so cool. Like the way your hand can just change shape to create like a big-ass knife. Always remember the first Prototype having an extremely hard boss fight at the end as well. Probably isn't even that hard anymore, but to me back in the day, after I rented it for like 6 days at Blockbuster, I think I was on my 6th day, and I had to actually finish it that day, otherwise I'd have had to take it back without finishing it. But yeah, that was hard. That was a stressful day. Stressful day for 10 or 11-year-old me. Maybe even a bit older than that, to be fair. I can't remember when Prototype 1 came out. I think it was around like 2009 or something, was it? And then this one came out in like a year later or 2 years later or something. But yeah, like I was saying before, these games work so well on the Steam Deck. This is the perk of Linux as well, because I know some of these older games have issues running on Windows 11 and Windows 10, and Proton just seems to be a perfect balance for gaming. Like I said, before you updated it, before Bethesda updated it even, Fallout 3 used to be a nightmare to get running on Windows, so it's games like that, older games that don't really support Windows anymore. They seem to work fine on the Steam Deck. As you can see, we'll play a couple of different older titles, and you get the idea. But yeah, I did actually get game on Gun on the Steam Deck just to try it out, and for some reason I couldn't get the controls really working that well. So I'll have to look further into that. But like I said before, when I showed off the PS2 version, I much preferred playing the PS2 version, just for the fact I have save states, and with it being 2 times native, it looked really good anyway. So just adjusting the brightness for you guys, because I know that it can lose its focus on darker scenes sometimes. I will, if I can jump through the window. There we go. In-game cutscenes are all rendered, so when you're in a cutscene, the wattage will jump right down to 8 watts, so you'll be... I don't know how many cutscenes are in this game, but it should give you a little bit of battery life if you're watching cutscenes and not actually playing the game, which is cool to know. Also supports achievements, which is also amazing. Definitely gets me to want to play it a bit more as well. You know how much I love achievements now. I keep going on about it all the damn time. But yeah, we'll get into the open world. We'll do a bit of running around, and we will see how much wattage the open world pulls. I'm gonna guess it'll pull around 15 watt, but was kind of expecting it to not need as much wattage as that with it being such an older game, but depending on what engine it's running and stuff like that can affect the wattage massively. So yeah, let's quickly, as you can see it's lock 60 though, so got no problem about that. If you really wanted to, you could obviously mess about with the TDP. You could also mess about with the refresh rate. Also, it looks amazing, by the way. It looks really good on this screen. Gotta run away from these this heli. That seems to be nailing me with bullets right now. Love that. Remember that little... Forgot about that. That's been brought some memories. The classic glide, the prototype glide. So yeah, you can... It's actually pulling around 21 watt. That's quite a lot. So I didn't expect it to need that much power. Might switch it down to 50 hertz. It should still look pretty much very similar to 60, but it should hopefully pull a lot less wattage. As you can see, we've jumped down to around 16.3 and counting. So yeah, it's around 16 watt. So if you prefer playing this and getting more battery life out of it, consider jumping to 50 hertz. Because it's a 3D game, you're not really going to feel much different. Oh, the disguise ability too. Some of these abilities are so cool. But yeah, Prototype 2, guys. We'll hop into Prototype 1 and see how well that one runs. And yeah, so we're heading into Prototype 1 now. Forgot to mention that all these games are running on the highest settings possible, so you can mess about with that as well to bring the wattage down. But because they're so old, like, you'd want to run them at high settings, just because if you're going to start running them at low settings, they're not going to look amazing. I have to say though, the perks of playing all these games on the deck, they're all tiny in size compared to original games like newer modern titles. You're looking at downloading Dying Light 2 for like 40 gigabytes, whereas Prototype 1 it's only 7 gigs. So if you're low on storage, or you just really want to pack all these older titles into your system, they're only going to run you around 7 gigabytes each. So yeah, it definitely saves you space and allows you to have a bigger library for sure. As you can see, this one's running great. Also requiring a lot of wattage though, same as Prototype 1. I mean, this is straight into an open world section with a lot of like the free running aspects and stuff. But yeah, kind of expected these games to run at a little bit of a lower wattage. But what can you do? Well, we can probably bring this down a bit, that's what we can do. I'd normally run it at 50 or 60. 40 is pretty much my cut-off point. When I start running at 40, I can see like a little bit of jutter in the image, and if I'm locked at 40, it affects I fucking love the dismembering on here, so dirty. But yeah, it definitely affects how the game plays, like the latency and stuff. Definitely feels not a lot, but it's not as, doesn't feel as responsive as original, as playing at like 60. 50 doesn't feel as responsive as 60, but as you can see, it's pretty on the money, on the button. But I'm pretty sure I just have to kill all these guys, right? These claw abilities are just like Wolverine on steroids. You feel like such an absolute badass in this game. But yeah, like I mentioned in the Prototype 1 clip, the whole world's infected, isn't it? Yeah, I'm starting to remember. But yeah, like I said in the Prototype 1 clip, I remember the last boss in this giving me a massively hard time back in the day. It was set in this Times Square section too, I think. Yeah, is this when you get like the big, like the armor mode? Yeah, the big armored hands. You can just smash tanks. Oh my god, this game is so fun. Guys, have you ever played Prototype before? Let me know in the comments, but dude, Prototype is such a good game. I mean, the first first got more nostalgia for me, but it's still, the second's still a great game. You just feel such an OP. If you want to play like a superhero game where you feel OP, like you're an absolute beast, you can still die. The enemies start to adapt to your abilities. But if you want to play a superhero game where you feel absolutely ridiculously OP, definitely look at getting Prototype on your deck. It's kind of what I want to do on the deck as well, play these older games and give you guys some recommendations on what to play. One video a week, or maybe a couple of videos a week, I'll play these older games, and it'll just might hopefully give you guys some ideas if you needed some more games to play. Yeah, or maybe you just forgot about this game and this has reminded you how insanely awesome this game is. So yeah, definitely have a look at it. Like I say, if you're a fan of superhero games, or you're not really a superhero, you're more like a not super villain, but like, I don't really know what the word for it is, but yeah, you're not exactly the best guy ever. But as you can see, yeah, you're not just fighting really easy to be underpowered soldiers. You're actually fighting these dirty creatures too. I've forgotten how to dodge as well. Dodging's a good idea. So I also know my content on my channel is pretty much all Steam Deck content, but I actually have a couple of Ambernic devices that I'm going to do a couple of reviews on. And yeah, I mean, it's still gaming content. It's never not going to be gaming content, but same handheld kind of style, but just different handheld devices. So I've got an Ambernic, like I say, that I'm going to do a review on soon. Just playing it at the moment, giving it a little bit of a test, you know, playing all the classics on it. And hopefully I can do a video on that. It looks like we may have had a crash here, guys. This is a first for me on the channel. I haven't had a crashing game before. So we were running this at Proton Experimental. Might go back and quickly change it to regular Proton, and that might stop us from crashing. But yeah, that is a bit annoying to see. Hopefully it gives me an autosave, but yeah. So I'm cheating a little bit, and I'll admit it now. This is the remastered version of Red Faction Guerrilla. For some reason though, it doesn't really have a great controller support. I had to go into controller settings. I had to change it to DualShock 4 default, because the original one, it was trying to get me to use like the mouse and keyboard and stuff, and it was really weird. And it also didn't really have inbuilt like icons for the controller either. So we'll see how this one works, but as you can see, looks good. Red Faction Guerrilla is an awesome game for destruction. Running at exclusive full screen 800p and high, enabled, medium. It's like a basically high/1 medium, which is the particle details. There's a lot of destruction in this game, which is why it's quite a good idea to play the tutorial level first, due to the sheer amount of like exploding buildings and that. But as you can see, 8 watt at the minute, guys. A little bit surprising that to me, because I was expecting it to need a lot more wattage. I don't know why, but yeah, this is the remastered version. I say remastered because it's literally like Mars, the planet Mars. So yeah, this game was great back in the day, just for sheer like destruction of environments. Like you can just smash through walls. If you love physics in games and you love blowing up buildings, this game is really fun. As you can see though, guys, the wattage is surprising me. I know we're only playing at 50 watt here, but or 50 hertz, but you're getting around 10 watt, and it's an older game, but this is the remastered version. I don't know, I was expecting it to maybe be needing more wattage. I mean, these using a lot less than Prototype. So yeah, like I said, the only annoying thing about this game is it fully supports the controller. The controller works great, but as you can see here, it says press the B button. So it isn't like, it is technically the B button we're using, but it just isn't coloured like an Xbox controller is, which is a bit annoying. A bit strange considering this is the remastered version too. But yeah, as you can see, the destruction, you can just blow up buildings. And the further you get in the game, the more sticky bombs it'll let you place down at one time. So you can fully like demolish like the underneath of a building. It It's extremely fun because you take the supports down, the rest of the building just crumbles. So we'll just take the supports down. As you can see, the wattage is shot up to around 13. I would personally play this at 50, but if you want to play it at 60, I'll jump it up to 60 and you can see the kind of wattage it pulls. It might not, if there's no difference, look at that, the building just is coming down. I don't want to spoil this moment. And there's the destruction at work, guys. So fun, very satisfying. As you can see, wattage just shot back up to like 18 now. Feels extremely smooth. Very, very responsive. But yeah, for the sake of this, go back down to 50. I mean, looks pretty much the same. But as you can see, the frame time has gone up a little bit. So there's a tiny bit more latency introduced, but yeah, not a noticeable amount. This one's going to be fun. So if we apply the bombs to the base here, I reckon we could blow it up after one. There we go, guys. And if that doesn't convince you to play Red Faction Guerrilla, then yeah, destruction obviously isn't for you. This game was way ahead of its time as far as in destructive environments goes. I remember there's a really cool bridge, and I used to set up explosives on the support beams underneath it, and when cars went across it, I just demolished the whole support beams. They just go like, the whole bridge had collapsed, but the cars would just go flying down into the valley below. Yeah, that was really fun. But as you can see, you could just spend hours destroying stuff in this game. It's extremely satisfying. As far as the story goes, I can't really remember it that much. I know there's a lot of like rival factions and gangs in this like apocalyptic wasteland area where it's set. I'm guessing it's set on Mars, hence the play on words in the title. But yeah, as you can see, I've pretty much shown off pretty much a good chunk of the destructive environments there, and it works perfectly. You have like the whole story mode and stuff, but like I say, I mostly played this back in the day for the destructible environments. And if you want to see something funny on my channel, if you head back to like one of my first videos I did on gaming, it was on the MacBook Air 13. I think it was back in like 2015, 2014, and I was playing Red Faction Guerrilla, and I actually said it was playable, but the frame rates I was getting was around 17, 18 FPS, which is obviously nowhere near playable from today's standards. But back on the MacBook Air, the fact that I could actually boot camp Windows and get it running, that was a big achievement for me. But yeah, guys, Red Faction Guerrilla, works great. Welcome back, guys. We're going to look at one more game today in today's video, and that's Alice Madness Returns. I know this is a classic. This is kind of like a cult classic at the moment, and that, in case you don't know how to do that, hold Steam, press X, brings up the keyboard. You can just type in input using the in-game keyboard. It works a lot better in-game than it does on the desktop as well. I have a hard time trying to actually press the letters on the keyboard when I'm doing it in the desktop mode. But yeah, this is Alice Madness Returns. I've never played this before, but I know it's a cult classic, so I thought I'd give it a go on here. I know that there'll probably be some fans kicking about on my channel that really do want to see this running well. So for the sake of, because it's an old game, I'm just going to put all the settings to high. 3D stereo, I don't know if that makes any sense because we've got a stereo system. Confirm. And yeah, like I say, I've never played this before. I have an idea that it's kind of like a darker twist on Alice in Wonderland, so we'll get into some gameplay and yeah, see what it's like. But yeah, I know there's a lot of old school fans who really do love this game. And I'm running on the GE Proton 20, so that one seems to be quite an overall all-around kind of go-to Proton layer to run for all these games. This one could just run off the bat straight away, so I didn't try it originally. I normally just, before I even start, set them to Proton 20.
My head's exploded and there's a steam hammer in my chest.
Interesting, it seems to be locked at 31 FPS here. Maybe that might be a cutscene thing. It might be locked at 30 in cutscenes. Let's move this to 60 for now and then we'll see what happens. So let me just skip the cutscenes. So it looks to be locked at 30 FPS. Interesting. I don't know if that's a... I don't think that's a limitation on the Steam Deck side. I think that's just an Alice Madness Returns thing. I'm pretty sure it shouldn't be locked at 30 though. It's only pulling 8 watt, you know, so if it was really locked at 30 and it was the Steam Deck's fault, it'd be pushing 20, right? And it would be trying to get it up higher, but it's not, it's locked at 30. Let me have a look online quickly. It does feel quite stuttery at 30. I'm going to get it running at 60, so let me just have a look online. So I've done a bit of research online, and apparently you can remove the 30 FPS cap by doing some stuff in the ini file, changing the refresh rate to 60 in the ini file, etc. But it can cause issues with the gameplay later on in the game. Apparently you like can no longer hit certain enemies properly running at 60, so they've obviously capped it at 30 for the game engine, which is a bit annoying because we're getting a pretty poor frame pacing at the minute. So maybe if I lock it to 30 myself, it might smooth out a bit. Yeah, there we go. That feels a lot better. So if you lock it to 30 yourself, you're obviously going to be getting a decent battery life because you're playing at 30. But sadly, yeah, it looks like it's going to be a 30 FPS only game. And now that we've locked it at 30, you can see the frame times does feel a lot smoother, not as jittery, but it is still 30 FPS. So we can even play in a first person mode. Perfect for 30 FPS. Wow. Game world looks really cool though. Got like an old 1900s feel to it in England or something like that. Got like an open world feeling to it. Is it open world? I'm guessing it's not. It's probably just quite a big open level. Yeah. Shame it's not running at 60, but if it ruins the actual game itself, then can't really do much about that. You could try removing the 30 FPS cap, but like I say, this first Reddit post I was reading, he says he has trouble doing certain missions in the future of the game, so to be fair, now that I've gotten used to it, it doesn't actually feel that bad. 9 watt as well, so you're looking at 3 hours battery life at 70%, which is not too bad at all. Let me know if you want to see any more older games in the comments. Like I say, this is my primary use for my Steam Deck, playing older games, whether that be on emulators or just all the Steam games in general. A lot of them work perfectly at lower wattage, so Prototype is an exception, obviously. I was hoping that would run at a lower wattage, but you know, it is what it is. There's definitely a dark twist on Alice. Maybe they're going to take me to Wonderland now. Graphics do hold up though. They do look really nice. I think it's from 2009, this game. That reminds me, I don't know why it reminded me, but Brutal Legend with Jack Black. That is a game I 100% want to play on here. I've always got like an hour into it and then just haven't picked it back up again, but I just love Jack Black. That is disgusting. Jack Black's, yeah, he's one of my favourite actors, and overall musicians, he's just a legend. But Brutal Legend, definitely a game I want to try out on here at some point, so I'll definitely be installing that for a later video. Here we go, entering Wonderland. It looks like a really cool game, to be fair. I might have to pick this one up a bit. Problem with these videos is I play so many cool games, it just kind of ruins my which one I actually stick with. Damn. Damn, we got some powers going on as well. Interesting. A lot of loading screens in these older games though, which is annoying. You start to realise in them newer games they've managed to optimise it to the point where you don't even see loading screens anymore. So when you're constantly looking at loading screens, it can get a bit tedious, but micro SD card runs great for these games. So we're in Wonderland now, and we're running at 9 watt at 30 FPS, 3 hours battery life. Here we go. Look at these weird creatures kicking about. Cow on a bird's body. This game actually feels really cool. Might actually keep playing this. And look at that red faction, it has inbuilt buttons for the controller. Amazing. And it also has levels that dynamically change. I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comments how much of a legendary game this is, but as you can see, aside from the 30 FPS cap, it plays amazingly. At a good wattage too, like you're going to get a good amount of battery life. Your fan's not going to be screaming, and your device is not going to get too hot, so pretty much why I play the older games. If I hold it, then she can kind of like glide. That's cool. But yeah guys, Alice Madness Returns on the Steam Deck, works perfectly. I'll see you guys in the next video.